how many of you have either said these things, heard these things, or thought these things? LinkedIn is the boring social media. LinkedIn is confusing. LinkedIn is turning into Facebook. LinkedIn changes a lot. Now, whether these things are true or not, and sometimes it's just your experience, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what LinkedIn is good for, what LinkedIn is not good for, and get an understanding of how you can use it. And I will leave time also for lots of questions because we have people in different places in their LinkedIn journey. Speaking of which, show of hands, who doesn't have a profile on LinkedIn? You're not alone. Who has a profile, but doesn't know what to do when they get there? Anybody an expert and should come work with me? I've had people say that. And that's a pretty common mix when I speak to groups of people, right? Depending on your career history or why you are or aren't on the platform, it makes sense. A little bit about me. I started my career as a graphic designer. Oh yeah, that is me. As a graphic designer and worked my way through agencies and companies. And about 12 years ago, I was the head of online and marketing and design for a global manufacturing company. I left there, didn't even know I was going to start a business. I thought I was looking for a new job. I was introduced to a networking group by somebody, and I said, "What's a networking group?" This group of people knew I was starting a business before I did. And I did a lot of different things. I did website project management. I did social media strategy. And then one of my clients said, "Can you teach our sales team to use LinkedIn?" And I thought two things. Why would you need to be taught to use LinkedIn? And you're going to pay me to teach you to use LinkedIn? And it led me down this amazing path. And I love all social media, but LinkedIn is my favorite. It's my favorite because it's a community, like networking, like any community. There's less problematic behavior because it's people's careers at stake. They're less likely to have arguments about things. They're less likely to say something that they're comfortable saying on other platforms. And it's less likely to be just noisy with people sharing the picture of what they ate for dinner. Although, I'm on Instagram, I share what I ate for dinner, but I don't share that on LinkedIn unless there's a reason or a story why I'm sharing that. So why might you want to use LinkedIn? Who wants to share why you want to use it or learn more about it? Anybody?
Those might have their email and more companies together. I know there's a lot of change, especially after COVID. LinkedIn is kind of ever.
Yes. So LinkedIn is evergreen. You can connect with people. They may change jobs, but you're still connected with them there, and there's a way to reach out. Yes. Who else? Why are you interested in using LinkedIn more or finding out if you should? Yeah. Yes. And what's interesting is a lot of people think, and yes, LinkedIn is great for B2B, and they think, well, for business to consumer, maybe it's not as good. It can be. I'm connected with a woman who owns a floral shop in the UK. Now, am I ever going to order flowers in the UK? I don't know, but if I did, I would. And because she's so well known, both globally and in her community, she gets referrals. So if for any reason I would tell, right? Use this woman in the UK if that's your location. Who else? One more person. Mhm. Yes. LinkedIn for getting jobs. And that's how it started. And some people still think of it as only for that. So yes, it is great for that, but it can be so much more. I think of it, if you take nothing else away from this conversation today, I think of it as a networking event, as what we're doing in this room before we started. So if you're ever wondering, should I say that thing? Should I do that thing on LinkedIn? Take that behavior? Imagine you were in this room and just meeting each other for the first time and having conversations. Would you say that thing? And would you take that behavior? So it's a good guidance because there is, and we'll be talking about some of those things. There's some bad behavior on LinkedIn or behavior that can damage your reputation. None of you would ever do that, but you've probably been the recipient of that behavior. Now, why would I have a picture of asparagus up? Do I plant asparagus in my backyard? No, I do not. But apparently, when you plant asparagus, it takes a while for it to grow strong enough and full enough that you can have a continual harvest. And I think of both LinkedIn and networking the same way. So it's not like you're going to do one post on LinkedIn and have a million new clients, 16 job offers, and whatever else. Now, not that it's going to take as long as asparagus takes necessarily, but the idea that if somebody's offering you a quick fix or something that's going to make it easy, it's not the case. Just like in person, you want to get to know, like, and trust the people that you do business with or work with. Make sense? I always like to go over the connection levels because there's a confusion with this. So first connection, Krista and I met each other. One of us sent a connection invite. Actually, I don't know, are we connected? Okay, well, I'm not, pretend we are. What if one of us sent a connection invite? The other person accepted, we're first connection. If Krista is connected to Paige, but I am not, Paige is my second connection. There's at least one person in between us, and LinkedIn shows you who that is. Now, third connections are more like second cousins, twice removed. LinkedIn doesn't show you that path. So the real power of LinkedIn are those second connections. Those second connections are your prospects that you don't know yet, but maybe can get an introduction to. They're the people you want to work for or the people you want to hire. So they're the people that you want to be able to get a hold of. Make sense? All right. I think of LinkedIn like a house. The strong foundation that you have to have is your profile. We have two people who don't have a profile yet, so we'll see by the end of today if you're interested in having one. If you have your own business, you want a company page. If you work for a business, you want to link your profile to that company page. So that's a strong foundation because what's going to happen is you're going to start engaging with people. They're going to look at your profile. If you don't have anything there, why would they want to continue the conversation? And that's what LinkedIn's all about, having conversations, joining conversations, being part of it. On top of that, the networking, the prospecting, the connecting, the engaging, the conversation. And on top of that, content. So when people think social media, they do think content, right? You think Instagram, pictures, and TikTok, people dancing, and people tweeting on Twitter. And there is a lot to do with content, but there are things you can do by engaging with other people's content. So it doesn't always have to be you posting something. You can join a conversation that's already happening by commenting on someone else's content. And if you have a question as we're going and it relates to what I'm talking about, feel free to raise your hand. And if it's not related, we'll hold it till then. Remember I said we talk a little bit about the things that are not good to do on LinkedIn? Has anybody ever experienced anything that they think, I don't like this behavior, this is not how I want to use LinkedIn? Anybody had anything happen on LinkedIn that they thought was So Paige is saying she doesn't think LinkedIn is a place for political conversation. Yeah. So there are other things too. I did a webinar called 9 LinkedIn Landmines, and you can watch the replay from my profile if you want. But I picked 3 of my favorites to share with you. One is a duplicate profile. So this isn't really a horrible thing, but it's just something that will make it difficult for you because people won't know which profile to connect with. It's very common. Someone will change jobs and they'll think they need to make a new profile instead of just updating the one that they have. And you can merge them. It's one of the most common questions in the LinkedIn help section. So you can merge them if you have more than one. When you change jobs, you just update the one profile that you have. It's your profile. The company that you work for can't tell you what to do with it. They can inspire you and hope you will, but it's your profile and you get to decide. Now, some businesses have compliance. So if you work for a bank or a financial planning company, there are some rules and regulations that people have to be aware of. But for the most part, you can do whatever you want on your profile. Next, third person about section. So for those of you that don't have a profile, you might not know about this section, but it's sort of right below the top of the profile. There's something called the about section. And people will often write it in third person as if it's a bio. But if you came to my page and it said, Beth Granger is an amazing LinkedIn trainer, it would feel really funny because you know that I wrote it. And it sort of puts a wall between us. You wouldn't feel as comfortable reaching out to me for a conversation as if I was talking to you by saying I. So when you're working on that about section, always have it be in first person. Tell your story. Good. And this is the one, the most annoying one. People hate this. It may or may not have happened to any of you, but the connect and pitch. Have you ever had that happen? You connect with somebody, maybe you don't know them so well, and the next thing that happens is they are trying to sell you something. It happens a lot. I don't know if people are advised poorly. I don't know why they do it, but they shouldn't, because it's like a cold call. It's like an annoying cold call. And now some people are even pitching in the connection invite. Why would they think that somebody would want to do business with them? They don't even know them yet. So, and people will reach out to you, not everybody, but people, there are companies that will claim to automate the process. You won't have to do anything. We'll get you 100 new clients using LinkedIn. Don't believe it. And that software is against the terms of service and can get you kicked off of LinkedIn. So it really is the equivalent of in-person relationship development for everything, for hiring somebody, for getting a new job, for growing your business. Any use that you have, yes. So it messages, so the question was, is an automated process why somebody might receive unsolicited messages from somebody on LinkedIn? It depends. Does it, if it says in mail, that means they're either using Sales Navigator, which is allowed, it's a product that LinkedIn has for salespeople, or they've paid to reach out to you. So it's their version of advertising. One of the things they can do is send messages to people they think might want their services. And I don't know if they just don't do a good job of the targeting, or if, I'm not sure why, but I mean, I get the craziest things that make no sense. But sometimes I've gotten some good things, like attendance at an event that I might want to go. Yeah. So, I mean, they have advertising as well. You might see sponsored posts. You might see ads that come up on the side. Most of us don't even notice that those are there. But yeah. But for emails, no, separate from emails. Are there tools that scrape people's emails? Probably. But hopefully that goes into your spam folder anyway. Anybody else? Can you think of anything else that might be bad behavior on LinkedIn? These are my 3 favorites right now, but. All right, well, when you have some free time, if you want to find out the other 6, feel free to watch the replay from my profile. Oh, indiscriminate tagging. I forgot about this. So I may be going out of order. Don't mind me. Ignore the slides. When you are doing a post on LinkedIn, you can mention somebody, tag them using an @ sign and putting their name, and it'll link, and they'll get a notification. And when people get a notification, what do they typically do? They like your post or they comment on your post. But you want to do it appropriately. So I went to an event at LinkedIn. It was called the Groups Listening Tour, and I met a bunch of people, connected with somebody. He started tagging me on every single post that he did. It could have been, I just learned how to change a tire, and he tagged me. What he was trying to do was get me to engage with his content. But to do it over and over and over, constantly, no, right? It's annoying to people. An appropriate tag might be if I do a post about speaking here, and I could say, and I met Paige, and I met Krista, and I met all of you. That's an appropriate thing. Or I'm involved in a nonprofit and we had our gala and there's a picture with the big check of how much money we raised. To tag people, that makes sense. So appropriate tagging is important. Bad content. Now, what do I mean by bad content? You might think it's sharing a picture of the pumpkin soup, but no. To me, bad content is where it's not authentic. It's where you are trying to game the algorithm just so people see your content, or just posting because you should be posting. To me, content should be either inspirational, educational, or informational. Have a reason for posting. And just like on other social media platforms, yes, there is an algorithm, but don't worry about that. Make the kind of content that you would stop to enjoy. Now, I think it's possible I have the wrong slides up because I don't think I had all of these on here. So I'm going to do something. I know, sorry, people watching on streaming. Let's make sure that I don't want to go through all of those. We'd spend our whole time talking about that. Yeah. That's what happens when you're live. Sometimes you just click on the wrong thing. Ooh. Not working. All right, we just find another one. Okay. Hopefully I didn't take us too far down the path. I'm going to skip some slides because the other ones weren't going to load properly. Fact or fiction, a little quiz for you. Do you think that your headline, which is the text under your name on the platform, on your profile page, should that be your job title? Raise your hand if you think it should be your job title. Okay, that happens, people. So yes, it can be, but even more powerful, I think of it as your 220 elevator pitch. Because if somebody, for instance, I always use the example, one of my clients is called Hub International. They're an insurance company. But if you don't know them, that means nothing. And they call their salespeople producers, which is a very industry term. So if their profile said producer at Hub International, you wouldn't know what that was. But if it said, I work with business owners to protect their income and assets and risk reduction, or using the right terms, that tells you a lot more. So who wants to take a chance at it of trying to come up with what they might say? So Paige, what do you think? So she said, I help families determine if our senior living facility is right for their loved ones. I was close. Yeah, so that says it could even, if there's enough room, because it is location based, you could include that. you know, helping families on Long Island or things like that, because yours is location based. Yours is location based. Some people, it's global. It doesn't matter. Excellent. Anybody else want to take a chance? How would, if right here, when you were introducing yourselves to each other, what did you say? You didn't know there was going to be audience participation. So just think about it and think you can include your title, but you want to include more so that people understand if they're in the right place. Should they be reading the rest of your profile? Here's an example of a profile. And some of you aren't old enough, but back in the day when the New York Times would come and it was folded, they would talk about above the fold, which is the stuff you could see on the top. So the same thing on your profile. This is the most important part of your profile. It's what makes people decide if they're going to read the rest. Yes, you have to have a photo. You don't have to like your photo. It doesn't have to be professionally done, but it shouldn't be you with your arm around somebody at a wedding or on vacation, like with half the arm chopped off. No. Yeah, no, only if it makes sense. For instance, I don't know, if you're a vet, maybe having a dog or something with you, that could make sense. But yeah. And here's an example of her headline. So she has, yes, her job title, CEO, but the headline tells you, now you may not know what that means because it's not your world, but it's very specific and people understand that are in that industry, they understand it. The next thing, do you notice the background graphic? The rectangle behind her photo. It may look different than what you have. You might have something that's kind of green and has circles. That's the default graphic. To me, I want to use all the real estate I am given on LinkedIn to control the message about myself. So to me, this is your professional billboard. You can put whatever you want there. If you have a business, you can put your logo, your tagline, photos. If you work for a company, sometimes they will provide a graphic you can use. And most people like to because they're proud of where they work. Or you could do something that implies what you do. And honestly, even just a rectangle that's an interesting color or fade from one color to another color is better than the default thing because it shows you thought about it. And some people will even change it for, maybe they wrote a book. They want to promote the book. They change it to promote that. Or some events coming up that they're promoting. They'll change it for that. And I hate to put graphic designers out of work because I started as one, but has anybody heard of Canva? C-A-N-V-A? It's an amazing tool. If you can use PowerPoint, you can use Canva. They have a free version. It knows the size. You just put in what do you want to make. You put in LinkedIn background and make a graphic. Yeah. And then, of course, you want to connect to the company page. If you have your own business, you do want to make a company page. And a company page is not the same thing as just another profile. You make it on the top. Do I have it in the screenshot? No, to the right of what I have the screenshot of, there is something, they call it the waffle. It looks like a bunch of little squares. At the bottom of the window that comes there, it says create company page or company profile. And it talks you through it. Very easy to do. And it's similar in content to a profile, but it's different. Any questions on the profile? No. Okay. Now this, I'm going to skip. I'm not going to skip this one. I think this is interesting. People ask all the time, should I connect with my friends? Should I only connect with business colleagues? Who should I connect with? What do you think? Oh, yes. Because there are people in your world, and just like networking works for getting a job, hiring somebody, and getting clients, so you don't know who in your world knows who else. Like that old commercial, again, you probably never seen it. She told two friends who told two friends who told two friends for some shampoo or something. But it's that whole thing of getting to those second connections. And now you don't want to connect to random strangers necessarily. You want to decide for yourself your connection strategy. When I first started, I said, all right, who am I going to connect with? People I actually knew well, for whatever reason, people I met at an event, and people I had a substantial social media conversation with. That worked out pretty well, except for if I met somebody at an event, I never had a conversation with them after that. That's not necessarily a valuable relationship, but I didn't disconnect because once you're connected, if you find you can actually prospect within your own connections. If I'm interested in speaking to people who are accountants, I can look through my own connections and see people that I've met, but we've never had a conversation. I can just reach out and say, we've been connected since 2007. How about we actually have a conversation? So, but I don't advise connecting with just everyone who sends you a connection invite. There are some fake accounts, not as many as on other social media platforms, but there are. And if you connect with somebody and realize afterwards, I don't want to be connected with them, maybe they send you to do the connect and pitch. You can disconnect if they don't get notified. It's easy to do. So if you change your mind, it's okay. Some new features that I think you'll find interesting. One is this bell. How many people think when you go on the homepage and you see that feed of content, how many people think that if you share content, everyone that you're connected with sees it in their feed? No. There's an algorithm, and they don't tell us about the algorithm. Google tells you everything you need to know about SEO. It may be hard to do it, but they tell you everything about it. LinkedIn doesn't tell you. It seems from observation that a post will go to a small percent, maybe 3%, I'm making up a number, but a small percent of your network. And when I say go to, they have no way of knowing if they saw it. It's just in their feed. It doesn't mean they read it. The only way you can know if somebody actually read or watched your content is if they engage with it. So if they click like or one of the other reactions or comments. But don't be concerned if that doesn't happen, because sometimes people are seeing it and they're just uncomfortable commenting because they don't know who's going to see that. Is my boss going to see it? Is my competition going to see it? Is my brother and sister going to, they don't know. And I've had clients who say, oh, nobody's commenting on my content. But then they'll meet with somebody in person and the person will say, oh, that post you did about hurricane preparedness was really good. So it's a little tricky, but the posts don't go to everybody. If they get engagement, then the algorithm says, oh, people like this, let's show it to more people. If you want to make sure somebody sees something, then you want to send it to them in a different way. But this is not to say you should direct message everybody with every post. If there's a reason, you were just talking to somebody about a topic and you did a post, you can say, hey, I just did a post about, we were talking about this, but not all the time. Again, you want to just imagine you're in person again, right? If you constantly were going up to somebody and saying, did you know that? You want to be curious about them too. You want to engage with their. All right. Now there's a lot more with LinkedIn. I want to make sure that you get your questions answered because I know you have a lot of them and it's a complicated platform. So let's talk about some of your questions. And any question, there's no such thing as a stupid question because any question you have, I'm certain someone else in the room or somebody watching has that same question. Sure, yes. Hmm. So the question was, sometimes I feel in my industry that not everyone is on LinkedIn. Is there some way to tool to use or whatever? So not everybody is on LinkedIn, although more and more people are. And in some industries, you're not going to be able to reach your ultimate customer, but you're going to be able to reach referral partners or people who can recommend. So for you, you may be able to reach people's children and not the ultimate person who's going to be, although as you know, I'm getting older, we're all getting older. So we're lucky, right? So, but there are certain industries that are more there and more active there. I had a client that was a hospital and they were doing free continuing medical education courses and they wanted to promote it on LinkedIn. We decided to promote it on LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook did better. And the thinking was that most healthcare professionals are only on LinkedIn when they're looking for a new job. Now that's changed. There are more people sharing their knowledge and stuff like that. But so it's a little, yeah. And so I guess I don't have that slide in here. Who has LinkedIn on their phone? All right. So let's try something. Let me see. Let me just double check if I have an example slide for you. No. So I want to teach you how to search for somebody on LinkedIn. If you have it on your phone, you go to open up LinkedIn. If you don't, you can either look on with a neighbor or look on the computer when you get home. The acronym I want you to remember is SPA. And if you're taking notes, you can write that down. And that stands for Search, People, All Filters. So you're going to put in the search box the job title or a term for somebody that you're looking to meet. And if you're not sure, you can just pick something. Pick lawyer, pick accountant, pick something that you know, an industry that you know would be there. And then click enter. And now across the top, you'll see little bubbles. And you'll want to click on people. This is more obvious on desktop because sometimes LinkedIn's confused and it might try to show you jobs. And you're saying, no, I want people. So search people. And then on desktop, there'll be a bubble that says all filters. On the phone, it looks like it's to the left and it looks like a little stereo dial. Remember stereo? So it looks like a little dial. And if you click on that, you can narrow it down. You can pick New York, maybe, right? You can actually put zip codes. And you can pick other things, but for this example, and then you click apply or enter, I forget what the button says. So you now have a list of really a lot of people, because we didn't narrow it down a lot, that you want to meet. And remember what we said earlier about second connections. If there's second connection and you click on the profile, it's going to show you who you have in common with them. So then what? What if you want to meet them? What are you going to do? Ask for an introduction. Yes. And how do you think you would ask for an introduction? Literally, how would you do it? Message the person. You could. Call. So you have this amazing device. It's probably in your hand right now because we were doing this exercise. And it does something you may not use it for. You can dial somebody's number and talk to them on the phone. Yeah. Now, I know I have kids and they, text me, don't call. But the reason I'm suggesting you call is it allows you to both ask for something and strengthen the relationship at the same time. Maybe the person says, oh, you don't want to work with that person. They're really annoying. But, oh, I have someone else for you. It becomes a conversation. Plus, you can say, thank you so much. How can I help you? Now, of course, depending on your relationship with the person you have, and if there's somebody you know really, really well and you could just text them, that's fine. But for the most part, I would encourage you to use the phone to ask for an introduction. So the question was, what if you don't have the person's number? Often it will be in the contact information on LinkedIn, or you can message them through LinkedIn, through some other method, email, saying, hey, I've had a conversation. But the contact, people do usually put their phone number in their contact information. And there's information that only your first connections can see. So random strangers can't see my phone number unless I put it out there. Did anybody find anybody that are actually interested in getting an introduction to? You did. Excellent. Now, I know what you might be thinking, because it happens a lot. The person you ask might say, oh, I don't really know them. That's because they don't have a connection strategy, or they connected with a lot of people and didn't get a chance to know them. So here's some really good wording. If you have a strong relationship with that person and they still want to make an introduction for you, you can help them do that. You can give them wording, and the wording is something like that they would send to the person they want to make the introduction to. Hi, whoever. We've been connected on LinkedIn for a while, but we don't know each other well. There's someone I'd like to introduce to you. Are you open to it? What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no, or they don't respond. But that makes it easy for them. And then if they say yes, make it easy by having some text they can send for that. Typically it'll be an email introduction. Now, what if you really want to get in touch with somebody and there's nobody in between? What if they're a third connection? Anybody have any ideas how you might introduce yourself? Imagine you're in person. If you wanted to meet each other, what would you do? You would go say hello. So on LinkedIn, there are two ways to do that. And one, I love this. I can't decide if it's strategic or sneaky. It's both. Active. And by active, I mean they share content. You're going to go to their content. You're going to consume it. You're going to read it or watch it. And you're going to make a comment. So an authentic comment about what you thought about what they shared. And then this is the sneaky part. Ask a question. What's going to happen if you ask them a question on their content? They're probably going to answer your question. You started a conversation. It's just like going up to somebody and saying, having a conversation, or maybe somebody's speaking about, you overhear, you join a group of people, they're talking, and you say, oh, that's really interesting. What about this? Now you can send somebody an unsolicited or, a connection invite, but because remember I told you about that connect and pitch, people have a wall up. They're concerned about having that happen because it happens a lot. So if you're going to connect with somebody you don't know, you want to make it authentic and about them, not you. So I get a lot of definitely automated connection requests that say, I'm looking to grow my network of, insert what I do. Well, I don't care that you're looking to grow your network of LinkedIn trainers. Look at the person's profile. Give them a real reason. Comment on something. You're more likely to have that person say yes. But if they share content, start a conversation first. Much easier. Other questions? Yes. Yes. So content, unless they've done something that only their first connections will see it, which most people don't even know you can do. So yeah, most content is completely public. You can go to somebody's page, see if they have content. You can see who's engaged with their content, who's commented on their content. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. So who has questions, even about your profile, for those of you that don't have one yet? or how you might want to use LinkedIn. Yes. Congratulations. Hmm. Hmm. I wouldn't start from scratch because to me, it's your journey and your story, and it's interesting. If, for instance, you want to tell that story, why you switched or how you switched in your about section, that's a great thing to do. I started in healthcare, but I've always loved, I'm making this up, obviously, I don't know your story, but I've, I've always loved music and I had the opportunity to blah, blah, blah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So absolutely. It's your, now, do you include, if you have 16 different in healthcare, do you include all 16? Maybe not. Maybe you take some of the older ones off, but really it's your story, and it allows people to connect with you in a different way because you just don't know. Somebody else may have a similar thing, or maybe they were in healthcare, or they have some idea for a way to combine it. Bring music to, actually, um, they did a study. I'm full of random facts. They did a study about people with Parkinson's and dancing and music, that they immediately their speech got better, and things were better after music. And so I don't know, there might be some way to combine it. Questions? Yes. Yes. So you can train your feed. What you can do is, in the feed, if you see things that you don't like or that are annoying, you can click on the three dots to the top right of the content. And I think it says mute. You can do a couple different things. You can mute it for a certain period of time, or you can just, and you can unfollow somebody, but still be connected with them. And meanwhile, I had that bell up there and I didn't tell you what it was, did I? So when you go to somebody's profile and they are either a first connection or you're following them, you click on that bell, it will notify you when they have new content in your notifications. So you don't have to rely on the algorithm or the feed, because sometimes you might think somebody doesn't share any content and they do. So it's good to click the bell on people that are good referral partners for you, people who are prospects or customers, so that you know what's going on in their world and you can support them by engaging with their content. They keep adding these new features. There are a lot of them. I know. You had a question as well? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Right. And then their head chef or whatever. Yeah. Right. So the question was, how do you be authentic, but also show all the good stuff that you've done, essentially? Yes, you want to be authentic. You certainly don't want to lie, because you will be found out, and, you know, just don't. Um, One thing you do want to think about is, just like on a website, keywords. So if you want to be, in some cases, you're going to be reaching out to people, like the search example we just did. But in other cases, you want people to be able to find you. Use the words that you think they will be searching for within your profile. Not in a weird way, but just, in other words, as you're talking, make sure you get those terms. But for most of us, people aren't going to be for what we do. We're looking for us on LinkedIn unless they're looking to hire you. So yes, recruiters, they're there all the time. So if you're looking for a job, actually, here's a good one. And you see a job listing, make sure you have the terms that they have in the job listing in your profile. So there may be multiple ways to describe things. You want to include the ones from the job list. But you're going to feel much better if you put what is your true thing. Anybody who's lying, they're going to get found out. So don't worry about them. You do you. Yes. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. 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 So in terms of content and sharing content, you don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to do it every day. You definitely don't do it multiple times a day, the way on some other platforms. But once in a while, depending on what your goal is, if you're in business development, you're going to be sharing content more frequently than if you have a job and you're just looking to maintain or grow your career. But share your knowledge. Here's a great thing, actually. People kind of say, well, what do I share? Answer the top questions you get asked. That's perfect. So you can write a post. I'm frequently asked about blah, blah, blah. Here's what I think about it. And when people come to your profile, they'll be able to read that and see what you're all about and see what you understand and what you know. And then it becomes a conversation. So yes, care and feeding of your profile. Don't just suddenly start doing things because you're looking for a job. But it's not like you have to do it every day. Once in a while is good. I like to do a minimum of once a week, but that's because I have a business. So less if you have a job and you just want to make sure that you get your next job is even better, it can be less frequent. I love this question. Questions or content, right? So all these questions, if I go back to the video, I can write something or do a video about the question. Are you going to make a LinkedIn profile? The two people that don't have one? What do you think? Maybe. Right. So the question is about the recommendation section. Do you want recommendations? Yes, you do. Can you ask people for them? Yes, you can. And the best time to ask them is when somebody's saying thank you because they want. You can say you're welcome. Would you be open to writing that, what you just said, as my LinkedIn recommendation? And they might not know how to do it. So you can talk them through it, how to do that. But it's pretty self-explanatory when you send the request to them, and don't just send it without speaking to them first. Ask the person for the recommendation. It will talk them through it. Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. And you can have people edit, especially if there's a typo or something where, yeah. Or when you're asking them for the recommendation and they say yes, if there's something you want them to highlight, you can say that. Hey, would you highlight whatever it is that you said? Some people will say, well, can you just write it for me? No, that's not how LinkedIn works. You can't. They have to do it. But what's really great is you can take those recommendations and use them in other places. You have a flyer, depending on, if you have a business, you can use them in a flyer, you can use them on your website. That's great. Yeah. Any more questions? Want me to show you something really cool? Okay. This is one of my favorite things. I call it the dog walking trick. It also works for events, but you're out walking your dog, somebody's walking their dog, the dogs start sniffing each other, you start talking, and you find out I need to be connected to this person. They either know everybody I need to know, or they can offer me a job, or they can, whatever it is. But you're out walking your dog. You don't have business cards with you. In fact, I don't even know where mine are since the pandemic. Probably have some in my bag. But what, again, what do you have with you all the time? Okay, so do I have the example? I do. So open your phone and go to the home page of LinkedIn. And click in the search box as if you were going to do a search. And in the search box, on the top right, there's this funny little symbol you may have never noticed before. Kind of 3 boxes and a little diagonal line. Click on that. It's going to bring up your code, your QR code. If you were in person, to the right of, on the top, it says my code and scan. If you were in person, one person picks scan, the other has their code, and you put the phones on top of each other. But as an example, so click on scan, and you can scan this code to see what happens. I don't know if it'll work if you're at an angle, but you might have to. And for those of you that either don't have it on your phone or watching, it brings people to the profile so that you can connect or follow. Yeah, you might need to. It's yeah. Or you can try it with each other, but with the phones. You just put one phone over the other. Yeah. Pretty cool, right? And for those of you, anybody, if you're looking for a new job and you're on an interview, instead of, you can say, hey, want to connect on LinkedIn. If you show them that thing, a lot of people don't know about it. They'll think you're very tech savvy and know something very cool. You could. I like it. It might be, depends on the dog. It might get all wrinkled up. You can also download the code. It says save it as a picture or something, which is how I got it on the slide. So sometimes people will put it on a business card. They'll put it on a flyer or a slide. Yeah. Pretty cool, right? People love that. Any other questions? Now's the time. I charge a lot for my consulting. New features. So the bell notification bell's pretty new. They're adding them all the time. Another one is kind of a hidden thing. It's called a profile video. Has anybody ever seen a profile video? It's on my browser. I must have a setting off, but it's a 30-second video or up to 30-second video that lives behind your photo. And on some browsers, when you go to somebody's page that has it, their profile, it starts to move like a Harry Potter painting. And if you click on it, you get the video. And how amazing is that to say your introduction and have somebody see you, they feel like they know you a little bit better. So, and you can only, this is where I didn't tell you this before, but I am convinced the mobile people and the desktop people at LinkedIn work in separate buildings and aren't allowed to talk to each other. I don't know. You can only upload the video from mobile. You can record it anywhere. Yes, you can record it on your phone, you can record it on Zoom, but you have to get it to your phone to upload it to the profile video. I think that's a great one. It's kind of fun. Other new features, oh, there's so many. One thing to know, we are all their test case. So something, you might see where something is and you might go tomorrow and it might be in a different place. I was teaching a class at Hofstra a number of years ago and people had their computers and they were working and half the class had one version of the homepage and half had another. They were testing the location of the search box. Some people had it on the left, some people had it on the right. So don't be afraid to click. Let me think if there are any other new features that I think are really good. I will tell you, just because you might see it and not be sure what it is. There are two types of profiles. There's the regular profile that most of you are going to want. And then there's something called creator mode. And when you're on your own profile, there's a box that only you see that gives you information. And it will say, you might see it say creator mode either on or off. Creator mode changes the profile slightly to highlight your content. So it moves the about section down and the content, your activity up. It allows you to pick hashtags that are the topics that you talk about, and that shows up under your headline. So when you went to my profile, because I'm testing creator mode, you'll notice the hashtags for the content. Other than that, not too much to know about that. Although creator mode does give you access to LinkedIn Live, which is live streaming on the platform, and something that's kind of new, LinkedIn Audio. Anybody here on Clubhouse? So Clubhouse is social audio, it's conversations. LinkedIn has added a similar feature, and it's pretty cool. But you don't need to host one. You don't need to go into creator mode just to do that. You can join one. People have conversations about all different things, and they're all public. So all LinkedIn Lives and all LinkedIn Audios are public, and you can be part of those conversations. Where you find them, two different places. On the page where those invites come in, the My Network page, although some people have it in a different place right now, they must be testing it. Below where the invites are, it will show events it thinks you might be interested in, LinkedIn Lives, people you might want to follow, things like that. That's the easiest way to get it. Those are my favorite new ones. So many, too many even. And some are very little things, like right now on mobile, when you're on somebody's post, they made the like button smaller and the comment buttons bigger because they're trying to get people to comment. So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. I haven't seen it on desktop. Yeah, they're having a lot of fun. Any other questions? I will answer a question that nobody asked, but people always ask it. Free version versus the paid version. Do I need the paid version? Mostly, no. So I don't work for LinkedIn, so I get to tell you what my opinion on this. Unless you're hitting roadblocks or things that you can't do on LinkedIn that the paid version will give you, you don't need it. For instance, free version, you see the most recent 5 people that looked at your profile. Paid versions, you see 90 days worth. So if you really need to see 90 days worth, I mean, you could just check it every day and see. Most people don't get more than 5 new people a day. They give you more searches, but if you've never hit something called the commercial search limit, you would know it if you hit it. Basically, they don't tell you what it is, but you'll get a notice saying, you've done too many searches this month, wait till next month or upgrade. And if you're in business development and the search features in the paid version, namely Sales Navigator, not Premium, are something that would be useful to you, then it could be worth it. It's like a gym membership. If you buy it and use it, it's worth it. But Sales Navigator can be confusing because it's not additional features on the regular version. It's sort of a separate platform that sits on top of it. And in the premium version, but not Sales Navigator, you get access to LinkedIn Learning, which we were talking about it earlier, used to be called lynda.com. LinkedIn bought lynda.com. It's video training for all different topics. Started with mostly software, but all sorts of training that you can take. And many libraries have it for free through their website or equivalent training things. So I love that. I was a page back in the day. Any other questions? Want to go have more pumpkin soup? Well, thank you very much.